Hello everyone, I want to share a project today using alcohol markers. Arrtx have very kindly sent me this set of 66 OROS markers here. So this is the box that they come in. We've got this lovely faux leather handle here. So let me just turn this around. This is what the box looks like. And let me just open the lid. So these are the colours that are inside. So 66 gorgeous colours, including a colourless blender and a black. I really like the box that these come in. Let me just open it out. Now there's sort of like a honeycomb design at the bottom of this box with little compartments that all of the markers sit in. And then you can turn it on its side and this will just sit really nicely on your desk like this. You can see here's the flap here so that you can just take the markers out as you want to use them. So no further storage is required. I really like that design. These are dual tip markers. You can see that the barrel is grey. It feels really nice quality. They've got the colour, number and swatch on the end. We've got a chisel tip, so that's what that looks like. And then we've got a brush marker on the opposite end. So that's what it looks like. And let me just show you the colour swatch. This is the colour swatch and we've got 64 colours as well as a colourless blender and a black. So let's see if we can do some fun things with some of these markers. Now, let me just explain what I've got here in front of me. I've got a piece of Yupo paper. That's the paper that I've got here on the right-hand side. You can see this is really flimsy. Mine is the SAA Yupo paper and it's 110 GSM. This is synthetic plastic paper, meaning it's completely non-porous. And this is a piece of Kirkland brand photo paper. Now, unfortunately, Kirkland, which is Costco's own brand, don't sell this anymore, which is such a shame. But this is a piece of photo paper. This is the gloss side that you would normally print your photo paper on, but on the back side it really does resemble Yupo paper in the look of it and the feel of it. So have a look through your photo paper stash. What you're looking for is something that's really smooth and feels like plastic. If your photo paper, the cheap stuff, especially from places like the Poundland and some of our cheaper shops, is paper backed and that is porous and it just won't work at all. You want something that's non-porous and plasticky in finish. So have a look and see if you've got anything in your stash. Alternatives would be velum. You could certainly use velum. You could use acetate as well, although to be able to see what you're doing, if you're using acetate, you'd want to put a piece of white paper underneath it. Otherwise, it would just be really difficult to see what you're doing. But I just want to see if I can get some really cool techniques using these alcohol markers and getting them to move around on this paper. I'm also going to be using a Tresemme kind of air dryer, but this is a cool air dryer. Using something like this would melt your paper. It's just too hot. So this is my Ranger heat it tool, and this would just melt the paper. You could use a hair dryer on the cool setting, or you could just leave your papers to dry naturally. You could blow through a straw instead of me blowing my inks around using this tool. But you know, just so that you know, this is what I'm using. Now, I bought this a couple of years ago and it was £14 on Amazon. I've checked today and it's gone up to £18, but I just think this is a really good investment because it's just absolutely brilliant for drying watercolours really gently as well. So, you know, these are the tools that I'm going to be using. Now to start off with, I've chosen a purple, a green, a blue and a pink. Let me just twist these round for anybody that wants to take a screenshot of the colours I'm using. You can use any alcohol inks, by the way, to do this. You could also do this with Sharpies. So, you know, don't think that you've got to have exactly the same tools as me. But of course, you'll find links to this set in the description box below for anybody who's interested. So I am going to let's start off with the Yupo paper. Let's just move that one out of the way. Now I've got a piece of deli parchment paper taped down on my desk just to catch the mess, but I'm just going to really randomly just put some colour down. Let's put it down in the corners to start off with. And I'm really trying not to overthink this. Let's put some down in the middle as well. What colour shall we come in with next? Let's add the pink next. Let's try the brush tip end. Fill in some of those gaps as well. Now you want to be careful with this because you want colours that are going to play nicely together and not create mud. Of course, pink and blue will create purple, so we should end up with some nice purple hues here. But if I introduce the green to this, if I'm not careful, I could end up with a bit of a muddy mess. So let's add a bit more of the blue over here, perhaps. And then we can add some of the green, because I know that blue and green is going to work nicely together. So I'm just going to be really careful about what I'm doing. I mean, some of you might like to create brown and end up with more of a vintage vibe. Entirely up to you. So let's put some blue around the edge here. I know that the pink's going to work really nicely, and then perhaps I can fill in the rest with my purple. So let's go with the purple hue here. And this will look like a really big hot mess at the moment. Don't worry about it, because we're going to move this around with some isopropyl alcohol and hopefully create some really pretty patterns. What colour shall I have next? I think I'll have the blue against my green, and I think that is pretty much my page filled in. So pop that off to one side, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the photo paper. So of course that is the side that you would print your photos on. I'm using the back, which has this beautiful plasticky finish. You've seen me do many of my alcohol ink projects on this paper. I'll leave a link to my alcohol ink playlist for anybody who's interested. I do believe that I was the first one to discover that you could use Kirkland paper. Of course, a lot of people since then have jumped on the bandwagon, but I do believe that I was the first that realised that this was a thing. Not that that really matters, but you know, we all take inspiration of each other, don't we? The next thing for this technique that you will need is either isopropyl alcohol, and mine is 99.9% alcohol. Mine is the Hexyl brand. You can also use surgical spirit. So for those of you in the UK that can't get hold of isopropyl alcohol over the counter, which many European countries can, I remember going into just a regular grocery store in Spain and could not believe my eyes, because there was just a whole rack of isopropyl alcohol in various strengths, but we can't get it over here. But surgical spirits will work in much the same way. So I've just poured some into the lid of my bottle. So that's what I'm going to be using. And then you either need a pipette. I've just got a plastic pipette here, or you could use a paintbrush. Use whatever you have. It makes no difference. And I'm going to put this on silent because my heat tool here will be really loud. You could blow this around through a straw as well. So if you don't have a heat tool or a hairdryer, you could blow this around through a straw. Just make sure that you working in a well ventilated area, because this is smelly and I don't want you know, anybody having any health issues. But I'm going to put this on to silent now and just wait and watch the magic happen. So let me just explain what's happening here. As I add the isopropyl alcohol, it starts to react with the alcohol markers, and by using this low temperature heat tool, it's blowing the alcohol around and causing these beautiful striations and making these beautiful marks. The alcohol makes the alcohol markers blend together, and you just get these wonderful, wonderful effects. Now, as I said earlier, you would get similar results if you decided to add the alcohol and then blow through a straw. Just be really careful that, if you decide to do that, that you work in a well ventilated area. The alcohol's quite strong and, it can give you quite a headache. Trust me, I know. But I think that this is just a great way to use alcohol markers and isopropyl alcohol to achieve some really fun abstract effects. Now, doesn't that make the most beautiful background? I love how that's turned out, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing now with the Yupo paper. So these are my backgrounds, and you can see that I got similar results from both of these types of paper. This one is a bit more detailed. I don't know whether that's the paper or the fact that I used more colours or whether it's spread more easily. I don't know, but I'm going to pop that to one side. Let's add some more details to this one here. So I've got a crochet hook here with a flat bottom. I'm going to dip it into my isopropyl alcohol, and you will see now that again it reactivates that ink and my pattern starts to spread. So you could add loads of doodles to this if you wanted to. I'm just going to add a few here. I've also got one of these ball tools as well, so I can add some smaller dots. And oh gosh, I could have a field day doing this. In fact, actually, I've got a video showing a doodle page that I did using alcohol markers a few years ago, and I'll share that at the end of the video and leave the link in the description box below. But it's just so much fun because you can just play until your heart is content. You can choose heavily saturated areas to work on, like I'm doing here. You can do whatever you like. It's just so much fun. And if you want to add more colours, so for instance, if I wanted to add some more blue here, I can add layers over the top, and if I wanted to dilute that again, I can do. So let's put some more alcohol on top here, and so you can just keep going. So I'm just adding more colours here, and again just using my ball tool. Yes, let's use the small end this time. Let's try the larger one on this here. And just have fun watching those colours spread. This is what my backgrounds look like, and I just find it absolutely fascinating moving these alcohol markers around. I just think these are so pretty. So let's do something with this. We need to add a focal image. What I'm going to do to start off with is cut part of this into a tag shape, and I think I'm going to turn this into 4 pieces, slightly larger than artist trading cards. So I've cut one of the pieces into a tag shape. I'll chop off the ends in a second, but let's see if we can draw ourselves a little cone flower. So I'm just going to use the yellow to start off with, and let's just add some dots. I've also got this orangey colour here, so let's add some dots here as well. So that's the centre of my cone flower. Just to get us started, I'm going to draw my petals in pink. So let's just do this. Try not to overthink it, Nina. I think that's about right, and I'm just going to fill this in. So easy, doesn't have to be neat, just loose and scribbly. Am I happy with that? We've got 6. Do I want another one? I think that's about right. And then I want to use the green to draw myself a stem. So let's have this. I want it a bit thicker towards the bottom. In fact, actually, I think I'd like a darker green. I think this one here, 424, is a slightly darker green. But you know, two-tone is good, so I think I'm happy with that. And then I want to add some leaves. So let's add some really long, thin leaves perhaps, and paint these in. Here comes Louis. And I'm going to do one on the other side as well, slightly narrower, I think. Yep, I think I'm happy with that. Whoops, I think I've smudged that with my finger. I've got Toby here as well, so if you hear barking, it's because Toby, who's in the other room at the moment, has realised that that Louis is in. Let's see if they behave themselves. Let's try and get some texture on that stem. So let's add a little bit of green just in the centre as well, just to tie all the colours together. I really like how that looks. I've added 2 of these shades of green here as well. I think I'd like that to be a little bit more pointed. And I just love that when you touch it, the alcohol markers push the previous colour away, so you get all these wonderful textures. I just love how that looks. So next I want to add a bit of doodling, and I'm going to add a black marker. I'm going to be using my Marvi Uchida. This is the 0.1 pen. So let's add some loose scribbly lines just around the outside, and I'm going to go around this a couple of times, but not taking my pen off, apart from on the individual petals. So let's just see what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to go around each of the petals individually. Nice thin lines. And then we'll come down to the stem of the flower. And let's do the same again. And I want to do the leaves. Again, sort of back up, not taking my pen off. And the last one, trying not to smudge what I've already done. Whoops. Nice and loose and scribbly, and that's just made that really stand out on the page. What I do want to do is sort of darken some of the areas. Let's just colour some of these in perhaps. I also want to add some more black detailing at the top here as well. Let's add some fine little circles here. Doesn't have to go over the whole of the flower. And then to make this into a tag shape, let's just cut the corners off. Take this one over to the other side, of course, just so that it's symmetrical, and let's cut that off there as well. So that's our tag shape. And then there's one last thing I want to do. I've got an old perfume bottle that I've filled with isopropyl alcohol, and I just want to spritz this from a distance and just watch and see what happens. Can you see? We're getting lots of little droplets, which is adding more detail to our flower. And the harder you press, the bigger the droplets you'll get. So the lighter you spray, the smaller the globules. I really like how that looks. Now leave it there, Nina. Don't spoil it. Isn't that pretty? Well, as you can see, I ended up doing a few of these. So that was the one that you saw me do on camera. I did another tag, and then I did these two here on the Yupo paper. With this one here, I added some gold pen to the centre, and if I tilt it, I don't know whether you can see that sparkle. I used my Marvin Uchida Premium Prime Premio pen to do that. I've also added some white to a couple of these as well. You can see the white in the centre if you look closely. But I just think this is such a fun way to use alcohol markers. Of course, you can use them for, colouring in colouring books and that kind of thing, making embellishments and so on and so forth. But I just absolutely love the abstract way of using them on non-porous paper. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that I would share another project that I had done with alcohol markers. This was a doodle page for one of the doodle prompts in the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, and this was also done with alcohol markers. I think I might have used some Sharpie pens in this piece here as well, but isn't that fun? I think I've used gold foil in this as well, because sometimes you find that you get a bit of pooling when you add your alcohol ink. I've certainly got gold here, and I'm pretty sure that was done with gold flakes, but I'll dig out the link to the video showing how I made this, because I just think that's a really fun page as well. Now, of course, I'll leave the link to this set of 66 alcohol markers in the description box below. Arrtx also do a set of 40 and a set of 26, and if you already have those, I do not see the need to buy this set as well, because this is just both of those sets combined. But you'll find all the information that you need in the description box below. So if you've enjoyed today's video and it's given you some ideas and inspiration, as always, I'd very much appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, but most importantly, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.